In this video, let's look at how we can play 12-bar blues with bass, chords and licks all together. Now let me start by acknowledging that this video is inspired by Tomo Fujita, who I saw playing this bass line with some simple licks at the start of one of his videos, but then he went on to talk about loads of other stuff, and it left me thinking, well, what if I took that and put some of my ideas around it? What could I come up with? Of course, this is a simple bass line that any blues bass player would learn as kind of first port of call, but once you start adding in the chords and the licks, it gets a bit challenging. So it's not easy, but it's definitely rewarding, and I hope you enjoy. So here we go. So let's start by looking at the bass line, which really underpins this whole style. We'll be in the key of B flat, and we're starting here at the 6th fret on the low E string with this root note of B flat, and the bass line looks like this. So all that's going on there is we're playing twice on every note here, so starting with the low B flat there, 6th fret on the low E string, then up to the octave at the 8th fret on the D string, the B flat there, then down to the A flat, 2 frets below on the D string, 6th fret, play that one twice, and then back to the 8th fret of the A string for an F, the 5th of the chord. So that's really outlining a B flat 7 chord there, and we're playing this with a swing rhythm, so it's like long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. So that's the bass line, and we can use that on any of the chords in the 12-bar blues. So that was B flat, then if we want E flat, we just start on the E flat here at the 6th fret of the A string. Exactly the same, but everything a string higher, and then the F at the 8th fret of the A string. Exactly the same again, so that's the bass line. So then in terms of how I started the 12 bar, I started up here at the 18th fret with this B flat, I slide down on the low E string into the bass pattern on the B flat, then up to the E flat, but then I added these chords on the end, which really helped to start bringing it to life. So what's going on there? Well, when I played the bass line on the E flat, once I got to this last note, this B flat here, the 8th fret on the D string, rather than just playing that on its own, I played it as part of a chord by barring the D, G and B strings together of that 8th fret, giving me a E flat triad. So twice on that. Maybe the first time I'm aiming lower and the second strum hitting the higher notes of that. And then landing back to this B flat 7 chord on the first beat of the next bar. So for this one, just imagine a B flat 7 like that, but we're hammering on with the middle finger to give it that extra bluesy feel, but we're only playing the D, G and B strings. Like that. So all together so far. Like so. Now because we've landed on this chord on the first beat of the next bar, we don't need to play the first of our root notes as part of the bass line. So we get chord and then one time on that low root note and then back into the bass line. So from the E flat chord, like that. Then we go into a lick, a bit complex this one, but it's a really great lick. So there's a couple of things going on in this lick. Firstly, just outlining the B flat 7 chord, but then a chromatic transition down to the 4 chord of E flat 7. So really cool. Let's start from the beginning. So we're starting with a grace note from 6 into 7 on the G string. That's just moving us from the minor 7 into the major 7, and then up to the 6th fret of the B string, and then up to the 8th. So that's the first part. Then we're going to grace note from the 9th down to the 8th on the B string, back to the 6th and into the 8th fret on the G string. So we've got the first part and then second part, and then we get this back to the 6th fret on the B string, and we're really just going to outline a B flat 7 arpeggio here. So F there at the 6th fret of the B string, into that move from the 6th to the 7th, major to minor, but this time we're giving it a full time weighting, it's not a grace note, and then down to the root note of B flat there at the 8th fret on the D string. So in 3 parts we get this. So that's the bit that outlines that B flat 7 chord. Then into that chromatic transition. So we've ended up on this B flat root note here at the 8th fret on the D string, then we're going to come down 1 fret to A natural, then into A flat at the 6th fret, but this time we're going to be playing it with this D here at the 7th fret on the G string, so we've got a double stop there, and then sliding that down 1 fret, so then we've got 5 and 6 on those strings. Now this is really the same. If you imagine coming from an E7 like this into an E flat 7 like that, you'll see we've got these notes in the middle of those chords, so we're outlining that chromatic move down to the E flat 7 chord, and also including this A natural just really adds to the chromaticism. So this has landed us back on the first beat on that 4 chord of E flat 7. Then I'm back into the bass line. Then we're back into our bass line, now on the E flat chord. But we're not just going to play it straight like that, because of course by landing on this double stop on the first beat of the bar we've kind of pinched a beat, so it's into there and then just 1 on the root note and then carry on with the bass line, and then once again at the end we're going to pinch a beat and come back to this D flat here at the 6th fret on the G string, so because this lines us up to go into our next lick like that. So let's break that lick down, and we're starting here at the 6th fret on the G and then sliding via the 8th up to the 10th. Now whilst letting this note the 10th ring out, we're also going to play the 9th on the B string and then back to the 10th on the G string. Hear how these are ringing out together. Then what we're going to do is slide back into this 2 more times, this time from the 9th fret, but play, you know, G, B, G, G, B, G. So all together we've got that. Then a little bar at the 8th fret on the G and B strings together, and then slide that down to the 6th, and then back to the root note here at the 8th fret on the D string. Now that covers the full E flat chord. Now we need to land back on our B flat chord for the start of the next bar, and we're going to do that by playing this little bar on the G and B strings at the 6th fret, and then playing a trill by hammering on just on the G string at the 7th fret. So all together with that trill on the end. And then that gets us back into our bass pattern, but we've used up the space that we'd normally be playing these root notes, so we're coming back in at this octave of the root note here. Like that. Sorry if you can hear an ambulance. So then let's have a look at what I just did there. So now we're into the 7th bar and we've got a little trill back into our bass line. Now once we get to this last note, rather than just playing as per normal, what we're going to do is slide from the 8th up to the 10th on the A string, and then add the 8th on the G string together with it, so we've got a double stop 6th. they're ringing out together. Like that. Now into the 7th on the A with the 6th on the G, play together, just muting the D string in between, and then slide that up 1 fret to the 8th and 6th respectively. Like that. So we've got like a 6th there, which really represents a little partial E flat chord, and then this chromatic 6th really coming into the chord tones of the B flat 7 chord there. Really nice little move that. So all together from the trill. Then back to the bass line. Now once again, we only need to play 1 root note because we've already pinched a beat. Now this little variation, just because we're going into an F, we don't want to end on the F there, so just a hammer on from 7 to 8 on the A string and then up to 6 on the D string. Then into the F. On the 5 chord of F, we start as normal on our bass line with the octaves, but then once we get to this one here at the 10th fret on the G string, we're just going to slide back to the 8th, pull off to the 6th, and then onto the 8th on the D string, and then play at the 6th with a trill to the 7th on that D string there. Just like that. Then down to the E flat, play the bass note twice as per usual, and then we get this lick. Now this is just pretty much a straight down the B flat minor pentatonic, but we're just starting here with the blue note at the 9th fret on the G string, just a flick off that one, back into the 8th fret there, then pull off to 6, then 8 on the D string, then just straight down the scale from 6 on the G string to 8 on the D string, 6 on the D string to 8 on the A string, 6 on the A string to 9 on that low E string, and then we're back to the root note of A. So it's like that little lick. So pull off 9 to 8, pull off to 6, and then 8 on the D string, then 6, 8, 6, 8, 6, 9, 6, back to that root note of B flat for the final B flat chord. So now we're back to our 1 chord of B flat and we need a turnaround. Like so. So we're just playing twice on the low root note of B flat here at the 6th fret on the low E. Then into a B flat arpeggio, starting at this B flat on the 8th fret of the D string. So we get 8 on the D, 7 on the G, 6 on the B. So these notes are just straight from a B flat bar chord like that. So play through the arpeggio, then move all of that up a string, which gives us a E flat minor arpeggio. So B flat, E flat minor, then a little slide grace note from 9 down to 8 on that high E, pull off to 6, and then play this double stop, which is 7 on the B with 8 on the high E, which gives us a kind of implied E flat minor 6 chord. Like so. Then partial B flat chord there, so we're just taking our bar chord but only playing the top 3 notes with the hammer on the G string. Like that, and then the classic 6 on the A into 7, and then use the same finger to come up to 8, but this time we're playing it with the full F7 chord, so 8 on the A, 7 on the D, and 8 on the G string, giving us that F7 chord. All together. So that's our turnaround. Then to end, we're just approaching the final B flat chord chromatically from 1 step above using these jazzy sounding dominant 7, 9, 13 chords. So let me show you one of these. I'm just starting here with my first finger on the root note of B flat with the 6th fret on the low E string, second finger, 6th fret of the D string, playing the flat 7, the A flat there, just making sure the A flat between is muted, and then 3rd finger, 7th fret of the G string, playing this D, the major 3rd. So that's really the shell of the chord. Then the little finger is going to bar at the 8th fret on both the B and high E strings, which is where the sexy notes happen, the 13 of G and the 9 of C. So that's B flat 7, 9, 13. All we do is move that up 1 fret to give us B7, 9, 13. So then we're resolving down from 1 fret above into our root note of B flat.